No, I mean, there have been examples in the news recently where AI deleted someone's entire code base when they were using it to work on some stuff. The concept of the lack of guardrails, like you can go back to a company like PayPal. PayPal started in the early days of the internet when we were all just nice to each other. Everybody trusted everyone, and you could email money to someone. What possibly could go wrong, right? And then suddenly a lot started going wrong, like almost immediately. And to their credit, they stopped being a payments company and started to be a very, very deep security company that happened to handle payments. And because in that case, the whole thing, and if you look at really how the technology that allows us, whether it's to do e-commerce or to trade data or to put personal information out there or health information, whatever it is, none of that happens without the guardrail.
I think that's very well said. And so I believe every generation of technology wrestles with what I would say the same paradoxes. We want speed, but we need safety. And as you just shared, so we want to scale, but I feel like we're fearing, the loss of control. So when enterprises talk about AI governance and compliance, they talk about having those guardrails in place. Do you see this more as a behavior or as a practice? Like, how would you coach or guide a company to maybe shift their way of thinking around the need for this stuff and not being, an iron hold of saying, we want to hold you back from being innovative, but we want to enable you for freedom. How would you phrase this and position?
There's this protocol called MCP that we're all using now, and I'll assume your listeners are familiar with it. So most of the MCP that's out there are these MCP servers that many companies are spinning up. The vast majority of the pre-configured ones out there are read-only and are highly restricted. And the concept is we want to make sure nothing bad will when you do use these things. But the problem is that if nothing bad can happen, then the likelihood is nothing good can happen either, because you can't tell someone, I've just hired you to come into the company and you can browse our Salesforce, but you can't actually ever create a record or update a record. That would be a very difficult way to get your job done. And so you have to be able to look at it and say, well, how do you rationally take risks with this? And I think it's similar to how we do it with people. So you hire an intern and they come in and you say, okay, here is a task for you. And here are the things I'm giving you access to go do. And you sort of watch and see how they do it. And if they do it in a way that's rational, they limit their blast radius to things that are relevant to the task at hand, and they don't do stupid things when they're doing that. You say, okay, you're pretty smart. We'll let you do some more things. And I think that mode is very similar with a lot of these platforms. It's give it a job, see how it goes about trying to accomplish that job. And if that's consistent, then you can start opening those pathways to let it do that and potentially give it more jobs. I mean, I like a lot of these AI agents to very enthusiastic interns. They don't really know the context of the world, but they really want to do a good job. They want to impress you. They don't, and they don't have the experience of the context that an executive has. I come to my job with a certain amount of self-governance. I know it is a stupid thing to go into Salesforce and delete a bunch of opportunities. That would be a dumb thing to do, right? And probably if I did that, I'd get fired. And if you're an AI agent, you don't know what stupid is, and you're not afraid of getting fired. And so all these concepts that say, I'm going to base what agents are allowed to do on the authorizations of the human using them is missing the point that agents aren't humans. Yes, I should not be able to tell an agent to go see things I'm not allowed to see. That's table stakes. But you have to have something stronger. And you have to understand the difference between what happens with an AI agent that's non-determinative versus, let's say, what happens with an engineer who's building code using an API deterministically saying, here are the instructions to do, go do those things and get this result. But that's, it's just a very, very different world.